And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Well, before we jump back in, let's jump on board, shall we? Newsmax wants to send one lucky couple on a 7-day Silversea cruise to the Caribbean this winter. Obviously, a luxury cruise on the Silver Wind, trip of a lifetime. To win, however, you need to enter our sweepstakes. Visit newsmax.com/sweepstakes to enter. That's newsmax.com/sweepstakes to enter. Noah just asked, can I enter? And I think you can, because you're not an employee or you're a guest, and that's all
I'm
good.
actually entering right now.
Okay, good. You can bring your entire family of 12 into, the nice luxury cruise.
I think it's just going to be the immediate family this time.
Immediate family? Okay, very good. Anyway, it's potluck time. This part of the show, we go around the table, share our favorite stories of the day. Higby, I believe this is your first potluck.
No, it's not my first potluck.
Okay.
So,
but it's going to be his best.
But it'll be my best.
Okay.
And mine is, I want to talk about guns.
First potluck of the month, I meant.
Right.
course
For
you
the first potluck of the month. Yeah, of course I want to talk about guns because the left wasted no time jumping into this and saying, we're going to use this tragedy in South Carolina as an effort to push our gun control. Mm-hmm. And they've been all over the news saying we want to ban assault rifles. This is why people shouldn't have guns. You don't need assault rifles to hunt. Why is this even being debated? The guy didn't even use an assault rifle.
Right.
So
there weren't a lot of, in other words, you could have the most stringent gun laws around, and
Right.
it wouldn't have prevented
the
this
fact
from
is,
happening.
it's illegal to kill people. And if making guns illegal will keep them off the street, why don't we do that with heroin and cocaine? Oh, wait, it didn't work.
Rick, you said a couple of shows ago that the ship had sailed, that it would be really hard at this point because there's too many guns on the street already, so even all the laws in the world aren't going to do anything.
Absolutely. And I have to admit, surprised about one thing. I've seen very little about guns. The president spoke about guns the day after, and I kind of take your point in the sense that wasn't really going to go anywhere,
Right.
but he's kind of between a rock and a hard place. But, the ship has sailed. Look, you could outlaw guns, all guns, tomorrow. And
There's
you're
still
not getting the
300
million guns that are on the streets off the streets. So we have to take a different approach
Most of which
to
are in
this.
my house. So.
No doubt. And I have long argued that we get nowhere on guns in any way, shape, or form until anti-gun people develop some respect for the culture of people who grow up with guns. They're not bad people.
Or how about the civil rights of it?
Right, that's a perfect point. I'll tell you what would have kept a gun out of this guy's hands. Criminalizing, making a felony out of the minor drug charge that he had. But to do that, we would create a whole new class of
I
victims.
mean, because you wouldn't have been able to get it.
He wouldn't have been able to get a gun. He would have had a felony on his record.
That's true.
He had a misdemeanor on his record.
But wasn't the
if
gun
we were to-
gifted, though, by his father?
It was.
Father,
He
too?
passed a background
Still
check,
has to
so
be
you
passed.
can't politicize background checks.
Right.
He's legally obliged to own a gun, or allowed to own a gun. He just couldn't have it if he had a felony on his record. But in order to do that, we would create a whole new class of nonviolent victims by making them felons who all of a sudden have this record. And we understand that we would victimize a whole bunch of people who don't deserve to be victims. If only the gun control movement would understand that that is to victimize a whole bunch of people who don't deserve to be victimized.
But if they've committed felonies, are you really victimizing them?
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's not a felony to have a misdemeanor drug charge.
No, I understand.
And in
Right.
order to,
Yeah.
to make that a felony, you create a whole bunch
I
of
see,
felons
by purposely
who don't deserve to be
booting it up.
felons.
We
I
need, to,
got
we
you.
need to make
I
the
got
point to the left gun-leaning people is like, look, do you need an assault rifle? Well, I want one. I mean, did Rosa Parks need to sit in the front of the bus? No, but it was a civil right to be able to. All right? It is my right to be able to
How far does
own a
that
gun.
go is the question you're always going to get. Does that mean you have a civil right to own a tank?
If I had enough money, I would buy a tank. Arnold owns one.
He probably does. I think he drives it around
does.
L.A. I mean, but
I entered to win
but
a
there
chance
are
to ride with him.
But there are limits, right? There are limits on what you can't own
Explosives like a rocket.
RPG.
Yeah, an RPG is an explosive. I mean, that's a
Right.
very controlled thing. But
Okay.
I think if I want to own a cannon, guess what? I can own a cannon.
Interesting. A water cannon will do for you. I think that'll,
No,
that'll
no.
be fine.
It'll
The
certainly do
actual
for
cannon
me.
An
with
actual
the fuse and everything. All
Yep.
right, that would be kind of cool. Well, anyway, my turn now on a completely different topic. Tough year for media this year, huh? You had the Rolling Stone UVA scandal. That didn't end very well. Brian Williams is now a breaking news anchor on MSNBC. That might be called a demotion. George Stephanopoulos with all sorts of fun donations to the Clinton Foundation. Then he interviewed the Clinton Foundation attacker, you could call him, I guess, David Schweitzer, who he didn't kind of review. In other words, not a good time to be in media, and as a result, trust in media is at an all-time low. And then you look at stories like this. Media Matters is currently, and Media Matters is an impossibly left-leaning media organization run by a guy named David Brock. And for whatever reason, this organization is tax exempt, 501c3. So here's the deal. David Brock, who runs that organization, writes an op-ed and actually says in it, and we quote, I mean, you can't even make this stuff up, that his role specifically is defending Hillary Clinton from Republican unfair attacks on the subject. That's what Media Matters exists for. The only problem is the rule of being tax exempt says you cannot exist to protect or advocate a political candidate. So, Carl, I'll let you jump in real quick. Should Media Matters be tax exempt?
Absolutely not. The fact is, if you are influencing in any way, shape, or form political change or sway, then you need to be out of the 501c3 arena. And you can have, tax-free status on many things, but
Yeah,
not
it's
that.
incredible. The NFL,
We're out of time, but
NCAA.
there's actually a little more to it.
Sure.
We'll get there.
Time for Yay or Nay next. This is the Daily Wrap.